Welcome back. Now to the politics of the de Blasio-Cuomo fight on display in Albany today. Both men appealing to the public and to the crowds they gathered at their separate education rallies. De Blasio on pre-K and expanded after school.
Now we're in the home stretch, and we have built a movement over these last months, and now this movement, it's time for it to crescendo. It's time for it to be felt here in Albany.
And Governor Cuomo on charter schools.
I am committed to ensuring charter schools have the financial capacity, the physical space, and the government support to thrive and to grow.
Now, as we mentioned, after those rallies, de Blasio and Cuomo met behind closed doors for somewhere between 1 and 2 hours. And afterwards, the mayor spoke to reporters.
Even when we have some differences, and we do have some differences in terms of the best way to get pre-K and after school done, we're still able to have very productive conversations. We are not discussing if there's going to be a major effort to create UPK and after school in New York City. We're talking about how's best to get it done. And even though we have some differences on that, we are still working constantly to figure out the best way to get things done for the future. We are ready to work with charter schools. In fact, we've seen a lot of support from charter schools for our pre-K and after-school plan. A number of the charter organizations have come out and supported it. There's a lot more common ground than they meet the eye.
All right, so quick reaction from the table to what we just heard from Mayor de Blasio there. It sounds like he went to Albany trying to get his way on universal pre-K, and now he's got this other hurdle that he has to clear.
But I don't think universal pre-K is really part of this argument right now.
Really?
This argument is about is on Friday, which is supposed to be a slow news cycle, the mayor announces that these 3 charter schools got to go. The charter schools up in arm, Eva Moskowitz, a major political figure in the city, former city council member, announces she's going to put thousands today in Albany. And that's exactly what she did. And so the mayor rushed up to Albany to have a counter rally, and then the governor upped the ante and joined the charter school
Actually,
crowd.
Dominic, go back for 1 second. The mayor had always planned to be up there for the pre-K lobby day today. One of the things that's so fascinating in this from the political standpoint is that I've heard this today that Eva showed up with 4 or 5 times as many people as de Blasio did, and de Blasio had planned this for weeks. It just tells you about Eva's political operation right now compared to Blasio and Albany.
It tells you is that they had a lot of money to hire buses, and it'd be interesting to figure out where that money came from.
But there's plenty of money in there for that from the charter school side. That's not the issue.
In the public charter schools? In the public
But
charter schools?
they can raise money. They raise money from outside, and they've got a whole.
Who are they raising the money from?
Well, hold on, because right now there is a whole lobbying effort in place. They have ads on TV in New York City.
Whose money
It'll be divulged at some point when they donors.
And it'll be divulged at some point.
Well, whatever. No, whatever they've got to do. They have got TVs on. They've got ads on TV too.
Who's
fighting against
funding
this?
it?
I have no idea. Who's funding de Blasio's pre-K? His campaign stuff hasn't been shown up either yet.
No.
I'm going to
His stuff is
throw a
all
softball to
government.
Dominic.
No. He has outside public relations firms. If you called City Hall, this happened about 3 weeks ago. The New York Times reporter called City Hall and said, "I have a question about pre-K, universal pre-K." And the next thing you know, somebody called from an outside PR firm because they are engaged and hired by the lobbying aspect that the mayor has, where he's raising this money.
Where's
the
the
website
money
he's
coming
doing,
from?
they're going to file this stuff.
I'm going to throw a softball to Dominic on this one. How much of this is about these 2 specific issues, and how much of this is really Cuomo versus de Blasio?
In my opinion, 90% of this is Cuomo versus de Blasio.
For what? What are they trying to win?
The governor is saying, I'm the top dog in New York. You're the new kid on the block. Well, first of all, let me backtrack. Historically, New York City mayors and governors have not always had the greatest of relations. There's always been a little bit of tension. And so, in my opinion, and I think today proves it, the governor is saying, I don't care what your position is. I don't care what you're advocating for. I run New York, not Bill de Blasio.
Also, the mayor today said he will endorse Cuomo for governor.
He did.
So what else could he say?
I'm just saying. I mean, as much as they're fighting, it's about the issue.
Do you second that? Do you think this is really just a power play between the 2 Democrats?
I think de Blasio's problem, going back to politics, which we weren't allowed to talk about in the first segment, you want us to hold off, is that the campaign staff, the governor's staff, the governing staff in the mayor's office is playing campaign instead of governing. They are not playing long ball. They're playing for this budget right now. They forget the governor's up this year. The smart play would have been to accept it right now and then next year go back and try to raise the taxes.
Run on a campaign that says this is what I'm going to do, and then don't do it because the governor's running for re-election. That's a governing strategy?
No, because the governor stepped up and said, I'll give you money this year for it. They should have accepted
that
that money.
wasn't de Blasio's position in the election.
But he
His
should have
position-
taken the win.
Sure. The governor's running. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to back off what I promised the voters of the city of New York
No.
and take something
He's
different.
going to say, I went to Albany, I got it for this
No,
year without
that's not-
raising taxes.
That's not what he promised.
But he could have done it. He knows right now the Senate's not going to raise taxes.
I think you're,
Skello said it today.
I think you're underestimating the people of the city of New York. They voted for a program. You can like that program or you can dislike it.
The problem with that is, Richard, the they is 18% of registered voters
Well,
supported
that's
this
all
man.
we got. And
But the point
the
is,
people who voted for Joe
18%.
Lota were less.
And you know what,
But
Andrew?
you can't sit here and say the people of New York City when it's that
he
too.
did win the election.
He's got
The
no man.
bigger
He won, but he's
question
got no
that
man.
I'm thinking about, where are these charter schools supposed to go? The mayor of New York kicks you out. Where are they supposed to go? All thousands of kids.
Where are the other kids supposed to go when they're having lunch at 9:30 because there's no room? You can't be sympathetic to one group of kids and pretend the needs of the other kids don't exist. You may not
but
like
isn't that
de
exactly-
Blasio.
isn't that exactly what the mayor's doing?
No, he's choosing between two different
But
and
Richard,
difficult
Listen,
alternatives.
guys,
I
we
don't
know
Yeah.
what's going on.
We've
The
discussed that.
UFC is leaning on the mayor to get rid of charter schools as much as he
So
can,
why did
and
Governor-
that's what he's
Why
doing.
did Governor Cuomo wrap his arms around the charter school issue as
to
quickly
change
and
the
as
subject, because a day in Albany, which was going to be not only about pre-K but also about the estate tax cut, the corporate property tax cut, the Cuomo cut taxes for the 1% program was high on the agenda. It got bumped off a little bit here.
Obi, how
Smart move.
much of this is Governor Cuomo trying to play to voters who might otherwise be looking to a Republican?
He's triangulating.
This is a big Republican issue,
Of
charter
course,
schools.
he's trying to say, I want to fix the education system. This is the opportunity to try to fix it that's being handed to him, and he's accepting it.
You like
rightly
charter
so.
schools.
Damn straight I
You
do.
like the fact that the tax increase won't, de Blasio's tax increase won't happen.
I never thought it should.
You like the fact that the estate tax is being cut.
Of course, I
You
think it,
like
at the
the
federal
fact
level too.
that
it
the
should.
corporate tax cut is being put
I
in
think the
place.
state's got a spending problem. No question about it. You don't need to raise more money.
This is a leading Republican saying he's really likes the Cuomo policies. That's okay. He's entitled. But it tells you something about why Cuomo's having a growing problem among moderate and left-wing voters in the state.
The next segment, we're going to get to that one, I guess, right?
He puts it on a tee for us. He really does. But maybe it's the idealist in me. I keep wondering, why can't de Blasio and Cuomo get together on these issues and actually help each other in the process?
I speak for all three of us in saying the notion that there's an idealist in there is very hard to accept. Now,
Brodsky for governor.
Having said that, where there are disagreements, they ought to disagree. This isn't,
but there's not a
PTA
middle ground, a
meeting?
compromise on both
I
issues that works
apologize
for
to the
both of them?
PTA.
Actually, you know what? That would be amazing, and it's an election year, so this won't happen. But if all of a sudden, if you have a situation where they say, you know what, they're going to raise the taxes, they're going to get more charter schools than they had before, and then do UPK. That would be like the win-win for all the people on the left. The right wouldn't like it because you're raising taxes.
What seems interesting is that it seems like the Governor Cuomo, almost had a better relationship with Mayor Michael Bloomberg than what he's having with his fellow Democrat.
Don't believe it. Those two guys like each other. They get along, and they're fighting by a set of rules they both understand. I think, if anything, de Blasio could have been much tougher and chose not to be.
The only thing missing here is if Cuomo lived in New York City, then he would have had to endorse the mayor's race. He stayed out of the primary, if we notice.
Does Cuomo help himself politically by taking on de Blasio to make himself look like more of a centrist and appeal to a wider?
Remember pro-gractionary?
I very well do.
He's moved hard left on identity issues, gay marriage, guns, abortion, and on economic issues, he's Tea Party. Now, that
He's
is
fiscally
not
conservative. That doesn't make a Tea Party.
okay. Yes, it often does.
No, Richard.
Having
you
said
can't
all
do
that,
Lincoln-
Tea Party-ish.
okay.
No,
Tea
you guys, if you're going to
Party-ish.
use terms, let's use them factually, okay?
He's an
America
austerity
feels
bug.
we spend too much, whether it be at the
America-
city, the state, or the federal level. That's the issue. We spend too much. That's not a taxpayer issue, a Tea Party
that
issue.
may be true,
A right or
but
left.
there's another
America feels we
economic
spend too much.
vision that says, in a time of economic recession, you don't cut public spending. It's called Keynesian economics. You can like it or you can dislike it, but it isn't obvious to everybody
But
that
that's
your
the
way is
same
the right
economics
way.
as if we just pay people a heck of a lot more on the government payroll. That raises all ships, even though our debt increases.
Now
I
we're
mean,
getting
come
into
on.
a wider argument, so I think this is a good place to bring it to a close. But the debates continue, because up next, the other guy Andrew Cuomo is keeping his eye on, and his name is Rob Astorino. Cuomo's been trying to influence Astorino and Republicans not to make a move on a run for governor, and there's news tonight on whether that push worked. That after the break. Stay with us.